listen, there's this social media trend going around with women calling themselves TRADWIFEs. I think it means traditional wives, but half of those girls couldn't do one day of being an actual traditional housewife. Let's unpack this. I'm sure if you spent any amount of time on social media recently, you've seen this phenomenon called TRADWIFEs. And I say this because it's a kind of a cutesy name, but it's supposed to stand for traditional wives. And it's a certain aesthetic, it's a certain setting of young women doing kind of a throwback to 1950s retro stay-at-home mom life. It's very interesting and it's a little disturbing. It seems to be this aesthetic of dressing either in a 50s outfit or maybe a kind of Little House on the Prairie looking vibe with the flowy, lacy dresses. I've actually seen one who is one of the top 2 on TikTok who is more like a glamour wife, I guess you'd call it. She wears more like evening gowns or things from the Paris runway, it looks like, while she's making her homemade from scratch Cinnamon Toast Crunch that her kids wanted for breakfast. So we are going to talk about what is good, what is bad, and what exactly is going on here. This TRADWIFE thing seems to be looking at having a perfect home, cooking all your meals from scratch, being a perfect wife, looking fabulous before your husband gets home from work, taking care of 4, 5, 6, 8 perfect kids in a perfect way, in a perfect house. We all know that's not realistic. If you've raised one child, you know that's not realistic. If you've been a stay-at-home mom, you know that's not realistic. If you're a mom who has children who are in daycare or being taken care of by grandparents while you go to work at a full-time job, you absolutely know this is not realistic. When I think of traditional wife, I think of the 1950s. Remember Mrs. Cunningham, Marion Cunningham on Happy Days? Leave It to Beaver, if you want to go back a little bit further. They had houses that were always clean. They had 30-minute shows where, of course, there had to be some antagonist. There had to be some problem that they had to solve. They solved it in 30 minutes and all was right with the world. This is kind of the thing that's going on with the TRADWIFEs movement. Now, what actual stay-at-home moms do is far from perfect. It's far from being in an evening gown while you bake something, or having your hair perfect and a full face of makeup and portraying this real television wife, because these are mini episodes. These are productions. I thought it was kind of cutesy when I first saw it, and then I thought this could be a little dangerous because our society is so revolving, especially young people, around social media. It is hard enough when you're in high school and the cool girl starts wearing, in my case, a monogram sweater. Yes, I'm that old. Everybody else suddenly got monogram sweaters. I thought I would die before I got a monogram sweater so I could fit in. This is the same thing on a larger adult scale. And yes, there is still peer pressure as adults, and there is still the possibility of being influenced to think that what you're doing is not enough. And this is that multiplied. I'll just give you one example. There are 2 top people on TikTok, women on TikTok, who are considered the most popular because they have the most followers and the widest reach. And one of them has 12.3 million followers. She is the one that dresses in the glamorous outfits, and she's in her kitchen and she has this voice that is very soothing, I suppose. It's supposed to be soothing. It's kind of a little creepy, but...
Whether he wanted dessert after lunch today, I was expecting him to say no. But when he said he was craving an ice cream sundae, I just had to make him one since he doesn't have dessert a lot.
She has this very soft voice and soft way of presenting the made-from-scratch thing she's doing. And the first one I watched was My Child Had a Scratchy Throat This Morning. And I don't buy mass-produced overprocessed cough drops from the store. I didn't have any in the cabinet, so I decided to make them from scratch. And she brings out the ingredients of cough drops, brings it to a hard crack boil, which is how you make candy, had all these ingredients, some of which are not things you normally have in a pantry, like arrowroot and glycerin and all these things. And she made the cough drop syrup, got it to the right temperature, and then she pulled out some silicone molds that were the size of cough drops. When they came out, they looked like cough drops, which is hard to understand why you just don't have some regular cough drops in your cabinet, but you've got a silicone mold to make cough drops. So that right there tells you it's unrealistic. There's another one that I saw that has several 100,000 followers who, when your husband comes home from work, before he gets there and she's spritzing on perfume, she's got her little 50s dress on and her hair is done in this little retro style, full face of makeup. She wants to make sure she's perfect when her husband gets home. This is where it really starts to veer off into the uh-oh thing for me. Because a lot of them verbally, they're not even trying to kind of imply, they verbally say how to be a trad wife, learn how to make things from scratch, learn how to keep a clean house, learn how to raise perfect children, and above all, marry the right man. You want to marry a provider. You want to marry an alpha male that you can be submissive to. And when the S word comes out, antennas go up, because that is, heard it all my life. Heard it from the pulpit my entire life and most of my adult life. So that is something that really grinds my gears, as they say, and raises a lot of red flags for me, especially as it would influence young women. As a person of my age, I like to think that I'm not that influenced by things on TV or anywhere I look, social media, anything. But I am influenced. I have to admit that, because there are things I see online and I think, ooh, that's cool. Ooh, that's a cute outfit. And I have to kind of reel myself back in and go, but where the heck am I going to wear that? That doesn't even fit my lifestyle. It doesn't even fit. I don't go to places where I'd wear something like that, even though it's really cute. And household things and just any number of things that are coming at you all the time. It's very easy to be influenced, even as a mature, grown woman. You start putting things in front of 20-somethings that are in that, all my friends are getting married, now all my friends are having babies, and they're engaged and they can't wait to do all these trad wife things. And it's too much, because we all know, anybody who's ever even known a stay-at-home mom knows this is not reality. You've got laundry, you've got messy kids, you've got things being turned over. There was an episode during my raising of my children, there was a couple of years there where we did not get through a meal at dinner without something being turned over, a glass, a bowl, something falling and breaking, something spilling. It was just part of life. But that's not portrayed on these trad wife videos. Everything is perfect. And for people who are very influenced, and let's admit it, when we were in our 20s, we were influenced by everything. And think back to some of the stupid stuff you did when you were 20 and 25. We didn't have our frontal lobe working correctly yet. So we did a lot of crazy stuff. We did a lot of things that now we look back and go, why did I even think that was a good idea? But that's reality. That's the cycle of life, is when you're in your 20s, you do some crazy stuff. And you're very easily influenced, just like when you're in high school. And it's easy for people to look online and see things. It used to be magazines. When I was in my 20s, I loved looking at magazines. I loved seeing different kinds of things, whether it was homemaking things or outfits or makeup or anything that I thought, oh, I need that. I need that. Oh, that would be cool. I wonder if I'd look good in that. How much more so is that in our face all the time? So it does concern me about the younger generation, thinking that they've got to live up to that standard. That's literally impossible. This is a curated, filmed with lights and cameramen. And who do you think is filming this woman making her cough drops? We already know her husband has a full-time job, so it's not him. It's got to be somebody who's been hired. This woman with the 12 million followers also has 8 children. Yes, I said 8 children. I got no problem with her having 8 children. I got no problem with her having 8 children and having a 12 million follower TikTok. I got no problem with that. The problem I have with it is that it's giving the impression that she's doing the raising of the 8 kids all by herself while she's filming this perfect lifestyle. Those two things don't go together. There are not enough hours in the day. Full-time content creators, whatever platforms they're on, it is at least a full-time job, because not only does it have to be filmed, it has to be edited. Just this little stuff that I do, it takes my husband quite a while to edit out the things, like my dog just walked through and did a big sneeze, so I had to stop. It has to be edited. It has to be put in a format, and on TikTok, it has to be a certain time limit. So all of those things have to be put into consideration after she's already made the homemade cough drops. And she literally does make homemade cornflakes that takes 2 hours. I'm quite sure there are no toddlers in her house that are sitting at the table patiently waiting for mom to make the homemade cornflakes. If they are some very unusual toddlers. One of the points that the TRADWIFEs make is that they claim that a generation has been skipped with teaching homemaking skills. And that's quite possibly true, because there's been a change in society. A lot of women work outside the home, and their kids are in daycare or staying with their grandparents or whatever their child care situation is. They are not at home as much as, say, we were growing up. My mom taught me how to cook and clean, and sometimes my sister and I joked that we thought that's why she had us, so we could cook and clean. But we learned all those things at our mother's side, watching her do it and then doing it ourselves, where a lot of kids don't have that input in the generation after us. So that is possible that that has skipped a generation, and it is something that's needed. My mother's generation had home ec. They learned a lot of things in home ec while they were at school. That's not a thing anymore. This is fulfilling a need of young women learning how to cook and learning how to do things in the kitchen. Some women do a lot of cleaning episodes. I call them episodes because they're really episodes. They're like mini TV episodes. They are doing lots of housewifey things on television, which is your phone now. And you definitely can learn something from them if you don't have any housekeeping skills or any cooking skills. It gives them ideas for what to cook for dinner.
I'm about to make some homemade Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. Everyone that tries our maple cinnamon flavor says it tastes like cereal milk from Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So I'm going to put it to the test.
Some of them do involve their children. Most of them do not. Most of them, it's just the mom who is doing the video and doing whatever activity that is. It can also be good in that it could help young women take pride in the fact that they are homemakers. They are people who are making a home for their family, for their children, for their husband, a dinner to be on the table when their husband gets home. I think that's reasonable. I was a stay-at-home mom who did that. However, there are some really dangerous things that could be implied by these videos. And my fear is that young women who are in that stage of starting a family, having kids, maybe buying a home, decorating their home, cooking meals, that what they are seeing on their phone is reality. And if they can't live up to that, they've failed. It is hard enough to be a stay-at-home mom with kids. It is hard enough to keep a house clean. It is hard enough to raise children, even if you had a maid to clean the house. It's hard enough. It's more than a full-time job. Children don't let you clock out at 5 o'clock. it concerns me that the TRADWIFE movement is setting up women for self-doubt, for shaming themselves, for not liking themselves, for feeling like they're never good enough. We have enough of that from society as it is. We certainly don't need young women sitting alone in their house with their children thinking, I'm not doing enough. If you're a mom or grandma and you have young, impressionable teenagers, 20s, girls in those ages that are thinking about marriage and children and home, by all means, talk to them. Watch some of these things yourself. All you have to do is go on TikTok or Instagram and put in TRADWIFEs in the search. You will see things that will blow your mind. Let them know, hey, share this video with them. Share this. You won't even have to tell them. I'll tell them. These women, the woman who has the 12 million followers, it is estimated by the people who know these things that she is bringing in around $200,000 a month just from TikTok videos, just from posting the videos. $200,000 a month. She is also a brand representative for a lot of brands of products. She doesn't come off as a salesy person, but when she uses something and she promotes it, she's being paid by those products. When she sends you to her Amazon page to see the silicone molds for her cough drops where you can buy them, you purchase them on Amazon after you've clicked on her page, she gets money from that. Hey, that's great. That's fine if that's what she wants to do. And it's fine if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and be a great wife without a full-time job. That's great. But please don't think that you have to be this camera-ready, husband-ready, smelling good, looking good, full face of makeup, perfect dress, perfect kids, perfect house when your husband gets home. And maybe some guys need to hear this too, because if they're seeing the TRADWIFE stuff, they might set that expectation for their wife. And that is very dangerous. When you see Howard and Marion Cunningham on television, you don't see them button heads. They have little arguments. They have little disagreements. They're solved within less than 30 minutes.
I guess I've been working too hard. Listen, we'll discuss this while you're making dinner.
Did you hear that, Richard? Men are not the only ones who work hard, Howard Cunningham.
You don't see them arguing about how are we going to pay the bills this month. You don't see them having a serious problem with their teenager being addicted to drugs, or with their toddler has just been diagnosed with ADHD or autism. That it was a comedy show. You didn't see a lot of real life things that happened. Leave It to Beaver was la, 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 everything's wonderful. And it was mostly problems between the kids, not problems that even really affected the parents, other than they sat down and gave them some sage advice.
Girls are kind of lucky, don't they, Mom?
Why do you say that?
Well, they don't have to be smart. They don't have to get jobs or anything. All they got to do is get married.
It was not real life. It was television. And these ladies are not real life. They are running a business. They are starring in a show. They are making a whole lot of money. And I'm not putting them down for having a maid or a caretaker for their children or for looking good when their husband gets home. That's fabulous. It's just not the norm. It's not what every young mother can pull off. And we need to be aware of these things, how they're affecting our children and our grandchildren that are getting to these ages, so that we can have some input and say, let's think about this together. I try not to go in all advicey with my kids. In fact, I hardly ever give them any advice unless they ask for it, because they're not going to hear it anyway. And half the time when they do ask for it, they don't hear it. But for us to sit down and just say, you know, I've been seeing this crazy TRADWIFE trend on some social media. Some friends of mine told me about it. And what do you think about that? Kind of have a conversation with them. Help them to kind of talk through it and help them to realize themselves that that's not something you need to try and live up to, because it's impossible. Without the $200,000 a month, it's impossible. Stay-at-home moms are doing a great job for the most part. Most of them are doing everything they possibly can to be the best wife and mom they can be. And I applaud them for that. And the moms that work that have small kids, I feel you. It's hard. There's just no other way around it. I just don't want people beating themselves up because they don't look like these people with 12 million followers, because it's not truth. And it's entertainment. Let's look at it like Happy Days. Let's look at it like, this is my TV show for today. I'm going to see what she's doing. Look, she made cough drops. Isn't that great for her? I'm going to get mine at the Walgreens. Let's just keep some reality checks in place and have some communication with the young ladies in your life. There's a lot of values that are put forth in these videos that go way deeper than housekeeping and cooking. And a lot of it has to do with husband-wife relationships and the implication that the husband is the head of the house and the implication that the woman always has to be submissive. That's not an implication in a lot of them. It's outwardly said. My concern is that while we've made a lot of strides as women, there's still that mindset out there that is apparently trying to be fed into the next generation. My message to you is stay aware, pay attention, listen to the things the young people in your life are saying, help them think through some of these things, because it's a different world out there than when we were 20. There was enough peer pressure as it was just in the regular people I knew in my community, let alone some of these accounts that are putting on full-on productions. Thanks for listening. I hope you've gotten something out of this. If so, please subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome back now. Here.